Hello and welcome. In this video I'll be doing a review of the Flying Iron Spitfire Mk.IXc Charlie. Just looking around the cockpit, they've done a fantastic job. Textures are lovely, modelled really nicely. I hate to bring DCS into this, but I have flown the Mk.IXc on there, and it's hard not to make comparisons between the two. I know they're two totally different simulators. One's a live fire, this is just for fun, but there is also the flying aspect. Yes, it looks good, but will it fly good? Now the Eagle Dynamics one, really can't fault it. It's really good and very detailed. This one, on the other hand, obviously with the limitations of flight sim, some corners have been cut, just purely because you can't do some of the things that simulator can. But what they have done, they've done a very good job of. Obviously, you've got all your extra bits in here, like transponder and radios and things like that, which the DCS one doesn't have. And then obviously you can, if you click under here, you can switch from gunsight aimer to GPS, which basically brings it up to a modern sort of cockpit, which is really good for the navigation aspect of it. As I say, it may look good, but will it fly good? Well, let's taxi out and have a look. There are a few things different on here. Obviously, you can, after start up, Spitfire pilots wouldn't normally close the canopy until they're up in the air, and then close the door and the hood properly, just purely because if there was an accident on takeoff they could get out. Hence the reason why this is like it is. To shut this door properly and bring the hood in, you need to click the latch, and then we can just look back here and now we've got a closed canopy, which is a nice little addition, and good that it's not been forgotten. Turn on the transponder down here. Okay, you can click here obviously to take the flight stick out the way, and anything else in here that is different. Switch on the nav lights. Okay, and oxygen switch there. Even though hypoxia doesn't seem to have been modelled into the sim at all, it's nice to have that oxygen selection there if you want it. Now let's have a look at the external model. As you can see, they've done a fantastic job of modelling the outside of the aircraft. It looks how it should. The only odd thing that can't be removed is the conformal fuel tank that's been added. The real Spitfire had this. The DCS variant can have this added to it, but this can't be removed, as much as I've tried. Maybe I'm just being stupid, but that's just me. But looking around the aircraft, yeah, fantastically modelled, very high standard. The livery itself came from FlightSim.2 and is an addition that I've added. It didn't actually come with the aircraft, but yeah, there's plenty of liveries on there if you want to change. Now if we jump back into the aircraft, I forgot to mention one thing, and that's the cannons. As you can see, you can click here and actually remove those, so when we go back outside it's gone. All nice and clean, all taped up, and yeah, nice little addition as well. So we jump back in. Right, now we're going to taxi to the end of the runway. Now I know, looking through the manual, that the tail wheel is actually connected to rudder movements. So taxiing this Spitfire is very, very easy in comparison to the DCS variant which I've flown, which the tail wheel acts as a caster. Apparently that's coming later and will be updated on this as and when that happens. But for now, enjoy the easy ride that you get from A to B whilst on the ground, because if you don't know how to handle a Spitfire, you'll be spinning around in circles, or yeah, pretty much scraping your wingtips all over the place if you're not careful. So I mean, in the manual it says no more than 1,500 RPM to get the aircraft moving, which is simple enough. So you can either release the parking brake using the button that's in the manual key bindings, or you can just click on it. Now let's get this moving. Okay, so here we go. Now typically you'd be doing an S-type taxi manoeuvre, but that's not really necessary when you're able to steer it as and when you want to. So we'll just make our way to the end of the runway in the usual way. Just lightly tap in the brakes. We don't want to clip the prop or anything. Make our way to the end of the runway, and then we will set ourselves up for takeoff. So ground handling so far is simple enough, not difficult at all. Okay, get ourselves centralised. Okay, now I know that we are going to need some starboard rudder, so close that, go slightly starboard, switch on the pitot heat. Okay, don't need flaps or anything like that, so we are pretty much good to go. So we'll lightly roll down the runway. We're not going to go mental. Let it gather speed slowly. Fight. And we're up. So get the gear up. Now latch the door and bring the hood over. Actually see what I'm doing. Okay. So yeah, the takeoff was harmless enough. No over trimming needed or anything like that. The other thing that you need to remember is that you do need to watch the engine management, manifold and RPM. You really do need to take care of those, otherwise you will start smoking and cause engine problems. But the one thing that Flying Iron did add is that if you click Delta on the radio box there, it will take engine damage off and just give you a nice easy flight. But obviously if you want to try and keep that bit as real as possible, you're going to want to manage your boost gauge and your RPM. RPM's usually around about 2,650, so bring the RPM gauge using the prop pitch, and boost gauge usually no more than 7 on the actual gauge itself. I usually fly between 5 and 6. And you usually get a nice 260 mile an hour out of it. I mean, it's not super fast, but then again you're in a warbird, so not to expect too much. And it's good on the fuel management as well. Obviously less throttle gives you longer endurance. You check the fuel now, we've got full tank. Okay, so yeah, we're up, we're doing what we're doing. I forgot to mention Mk.IXc's Duxford scenery, which, oh my god, has he done a good job of that. So that's a great addition if you've got these old warbirds. Obviously that place being a home of World War II aviation in the UK, and it's just had its base thoroughly overhauled and looking fantastic. So now you can hold air shows and all sorts from the airfield, which is brilliant. So yeah, I've not touched the throttle. You don't need to once you've got the boost gauge set up nicely and your prop pitch, and you can pretty much do what you need to do, your aerobatics and things like that. I've noticed the mirror doesn't actually reflect anything, which is a shame. Maybe that will come later. So yeah, that handles really nicely. Not too fast, not too slow. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slow this down, bring it in for a landing. Get on the right side of the airfield might help. Okay, over the naughty field, or what used to be called the naughty field, not anymore because you can't get in it. Okay, so bring the prop pitch down, bring the throttle all the way back. Just need to bleed the air off. I suppose we could stop off at McDonald's at Whittlesford if we wanted to. Okay. So the idea is not to drop any of your gear or flaps under over 160, 170 miles an hour as it's labelled on here. It's not in knots. So got the gear down now. Make sure we trim out nicely for that. Bring the prop pitch up a little bit so we don't lose too much power. Bring the flaps down. Get over the M11. Going, went down. So there you go. Oh Christ. Tap the brakes, tap the brakes, tap the brakes. Okay, we're off on the grass. Okay, so that was a bit embarrassing. But there you go. Yeah, I think the it's very twitchy once you get on the ground actually, but yeah, not too bad. I didn't take the crosswind into account, but there we go. Looks good, flies good, is good. So if you don't have the flying iron Spitfire Mk.IXc Charlie, the question really is, why don't you? Anyway, that's my review of it. I think it's bloody brilliant, worth every penny, and yeah, we'll be better once more updates come along and make this a little bit more realistic than it actually is. But other than that, it's great to fly around with friends, good for cross country, good for just messing around in, basically. So yeah, excellent work, Flying Iron. Same as with your P38, you seem to be setting a trend there. But anyway, if you got this far, I hope that's been of interest, and as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.